responded to him, it's Ata. They responded to him that it's Ata bin Abi Rabaha. So he tells them, bring me to this man, I want to meet this man. So they take him to meet Ata bin Abi Rabaha. He finds that this man is an old, black Abyssinian man, disheveled hair, ripped clothes, not a single dinar or dirham to his name, and half his side was paralyzed. Half his side was paralyzed. So he asks him, are you Ata bin Abi Rabaha, the man who the entire world mentions your name? He says, that's what they say. I didn't make this claim. That's what they say. He said, how were you honored in this way? An old Abyssinian black man that was paralyzed. How were you honored in this way? He said, by their need for my knowledge, which I spent 30 years gathering, and my abstinence from their wealth. I don't need them. I don't need their wealth. I don't need anything from them. That's how he was honored. Now this Khalifa who ruled a third of the world was so taken back and impressed that many years later, when he had a disagreement with his children, the princes of Islam, about a mas'ala in Hajj, he says, I will not accept anyone to answer our questions except for Ata. So this man, this Khalifa, traveled this entire distance to Mecca just to visit this man. He enters into the Haram and he sees hundreds of students around Ata. And this man being the Khalifa, he goes, you know what? I'm not going to wait in line. He's never waited in line in his life. So he begins to step over the people's heads towards Ata. Ata from the beginning, from in front of the Kaaba, he tells him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, do not step over their heads and wait your turn. These people are here before you. So Ata sat down and waited until the Khalifa sat down and waited till every single person had their turn, asked their question and left. Then he came forward, he asked his question and Ata answered him. Then he turns to his kids, a Khalifa who ruled a third of the world, and he tells them, oh my kids, fear Allah and seek knowledge, because by Allah I have never been humbled by anyone in this world except this man. Nothing in this world broke my back and nothing humbled me in this world except for this man. What does Allah Azza wa Jalla say in the Quran? يَرْفَعُ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. Allah Azza wa Jalla elevates those who believe and those who seek knowledge levels upon levels. Levels upon levels. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the first words that were ever revealed to the Prophet ﷺ since the beginning of time until the Day of Judgment, the only words of Allah, literal words of Allah, the first words were اقرأ بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ. Read the ultimate form of seeking knowledge. بِاسْمِ رَبِّكَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ. Khalaq, creation. Can a creator create without knowledge? You have to know something to create it. So there's a second reference to knowledge in that one verse. خَلَقَ again. Third reference. خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. Third reference to knowledge in 2 verses. اقرأ again. A fourth reference to knowledge. وَرَبُّكَ الْأَكْرَمُ الَّذِي عَلَّمَ. علم, now actual knowledge being mentioned. Fifth reference. الَّذِي عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ بِالْقَلَمِ. عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. 7 times. علم again. الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. 7 references, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, in 5 verses, the literal words of Allah to knowledge. The ulama, they mention when Allah Azza wa Jalla says in the Quran, Ar-Rahman, علم القرآن, خلق الإنسان. Why did Allah put it in that order? Why did Allah say علم القرآن first? He taught the Quran before he mentioned خلق الإنسان. Because علم القرآن is more important than خلق الإنسان. Knowledge is more important than mine and your own creation. Because what's the point of creating something if someone manufactured an amazing machine that tests blood for certain diseases that no other machine in the world is able to test? So this machine literally saves lives. And then he manufactures this machine that's worth millions of dollars and has thousands of buttons and thousands of tests that it can perform, but he doesn't give an instruction manual for anyone to know how to use it. What's the point of it? That's why علم القرآن is more important than خلق الإنسان. What's the point of this creation, me and you, without the instruction manual? This is the importance of what's it called? Of knowledge in Islam. Let's go a step further. Allah created us. And then Allah Azza wa Jalla says, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. Allah Azza wa Jalla elevated us to the best of creation. What are the ulama, they say? What was the reason that we're the best of creation? The reason we are the best of creation, we have received that status, the top of the food chain, is because of that blessing that Allah Azza wa Jal gave us of al-idrak, of intelligence, of understanding, being able to think and contemplate and reflect, learn, seek knowledge. This is why we have achieved this level. Look in the Quran, and every single time you see people who don't seek knowledge, who don't use that blessing that Allah Azza wa Jal gave them. Look at how He describes them. Allah Azza wa Jal in one verse He says, أَمْوَاتٌ غَيْرَ أَحْيَاء. They are dead, they are not even alive. In another verse, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, أَمْ تَحْسَبُ أَنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ يَسْمَعُونَ أَوْ يَعْقِلُونَ. Do you actually think that most of them hear and think, contemplate, reflect? إِنْهُمْ إِلَّا كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ سَبِيلًا. They are like cattle, animals, sheep, cows. No, they are even worse. No, they are even worse. In another verse, what does Allah Azza wa Jalla say? مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ حُمِّلُوا التَّوْرَاةَ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَحْمِلُوهَا كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ يَحْمِلُ أَسْفَارًا. The example of those who received the Tawrat, knowledge from Allah, and then did not think, contemplate, reflect, internalize, and act upon, these are like the donkeys who hold entire libraries on their backs. If a donkey held an entire library on its back, does it become any smarter? My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, what point am I trying to make? Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us that knowledge is more important than our own creation. And then after He created us, if you want to be the best of creation, seek knowledge. And if you want to lose that title of being the best of creation and receive the title of an animal, or even worse, because Allah Azza wa Jal describes the hypocrites who know knowledge would enter their hearts. كَأَنَّهُمْ خُشُبٌ مُسَنَّدَةٌ. Like they are like wood, pieces of wood, planks, stern and solid, they're unmovable. Allah Azza wa Jal is making a human being, giving him the description of something which not even, it's not even an animal, it's an inanimate object, something which isn't even alive. If you don't want to lose that status of being the best of creation, then seek knowledge. And that's why the ulama, what do they say? They say, if you want the dunya, seek knowledge. And if you want the akhirah, seek knowledge. And if you want them both, seek knowledge. If you want them both, seek knowledge. And that's why our ulama, throughout history, if you look at the stories of our pious predecessors, Imam Abu Hanifa, on his deathbed, he's working out a mas'ala in fiqh. They told him, Ya Imam, you're dying, you're in the pains of death, like isn't enough? He goes, no. He goes, why should I die as a jahil? As an ignorant person? If I can find the answer to one more question, that makes me that much more knowledgeable. Why should I die as a jahil? Imam Malik used to replace some of his ibadah at night, his tahajjud, with seeking knowledge. He used to value knowledge so much that when someone would ask him a question, he would go home, have a shower, wear his best clothes, fill himself with perfume, go to the masjid of the Prophet, then answer. Imam al-Shafi'i used to call knowledge the nur of Allah, the light of Allah. Imam Ahmad was the famous one who's mentioned that you must seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Imam al-Nawawi used to be seen running in the streets. Ya Imam, you're a great Imam. It's not befitting of you to run in the streets. Why are you running? He goes, I'm running from class to class. Why should I waste time walking? I could learn more. These were our pious predecessors. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, it breaks my heart that our pious predecessors traveled months on end, years on end. They would seek knowledge for 20 and 30 years. They would not see their family. Some of them would sleep on the floor, no food, no water. Others would sleep on the doorsteps of the ulama. Others would travel months for one hadith. Others would die and never come home and see their family again to seek knowledge. And me and you, in one app, one click of a button, we have thousands upon thousands of ayat and ahadith that we could learn, and we'd rather play Candy Crush. We'd rather play rubbish, trash, lahu, that which we will be held accountable for in the akhirah, then this knowledge that these ulama sacrificed, wallahi, they died to bring us this knowledge. They died to bring us this knowledge. And I'm sitting there playing a fantasy game. Social media. Fake. Instead of this knowledge which the Prophet ﷺ told us. See, they understood this. The Prophet ﷺ, what did he tell us? He said, if Allah wanted good for you, then He would teach you the deen. He'd give you the proper understanding of the deen. He'd give you knowledge. They understood this. They understood this and they valued it and they acted upon it. And because of them, 1400 years later, me and you say, La ilaha illallah. And if it wasn't for them and their sacrifices, would we even have Islam today? Don't you want to be showed off by Allah to the angels? Allah shows off His scholars, the people who sought His knowledge. He shows them off to the angels. Look at my servants. And look at the knowledge that they attained in my sake. It's one of the only two things we're allowed to have ghibta, not hasad, ghibta. So we're allowed to be jealous of someone else who has a lot of knowledge so we can learn it and we can teach it as well. The Prophet ﷺ said, those who seek knowledge, the scholars, they are the inheritors of the prophets. Not your father or your mother. May Allah give our parents long lives. Not money or wealth. You want to inherit a prophet, someone who Allah chose as the best of mankind? The scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. We all claim we want to go to Jannah. Wallah, words are cheap. Words are cheap. See, in this life, whatever we can do, we always try to find the easiest way of doing it, right? Anything that we do, why would I go the long way home? If I can get home in 10 minutes, why would I take the 20-minute route? Everything we do in this life, we try to find the easiest way. Why should I go and break the thing with my hands when I've got a jackhammer? Everything we do in this life, we find the easiest way. The Prophet ﷺ is telling you, do you want an easy way to Jannah? Seek knowledge, and Allah will make the path to Jannah for you easy. If you really wanted knowledge, wouldn't you take it? Like we take every other easy path? The angels cover the one who seeks knowledge with their wings out of pleasure for what they're doing and protect them from everything. The animals, the trees, everything in this earth makes istighfar for the person who seeks knowledge. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the comparison of the scholar to not the layman, the normal Muslim, me and you, to the abid. You know who the abid is? Someone who worships Allah so much that his description when you describe him is a abid, he's a worshipper. Allah is saying, the Prophet ﷺ is telling us the comparison of the scholar to the abid, not to me and you, is like the full moon compared to the tiny star. When the full moon is out, you can't even notice the other stars. Allah is saying that's the comparison of the scholar to the abid. Where does that leave me and you? And then he ends off by saying, and whoever has taken knowledge has taken a vast encompassing good. Inshallah, in the second half of the khutbah, we'll mention the statement of Mu'adh ibn Jabal, the companion of Rasulullah, who the Prophet himself mentioned is the most knowledgeable in halal and haram. So you want knowledge? Let's hear what he said about it. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فيفوز المستغفرين أستغفر الله. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. My dear brothers in Islam and sisters, Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiallahu anhu, the most knowledgeable companion in halal and haram, makes a statement about knowledge. You know what? It's a long statement, but the first part is just enough. The first part alone is enough. So Mu'adh ibn Jabal, what does he say? He says, seek knowledge sincerely for the sake of Allah, and it will lead you to khashya. It will lead you to khashya. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, that alone is enough. No one can enter paradise without khashya. جزاؤهم عند ربهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عن ذلك لمن خشي ربه. Allah Azza wa Jal has promised the reward of Jannah under which rivers flow. They will live therein forever. No more hardship, no more sacrifice, no more pain, no more death, nothing. Allah Himself will be pleased from them and they'll be pleased with Allah. That is for the one who has khashya. ذلك لمن خشي رب إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير. Surah Al-Mulk, you read it every single day. Those who fear Allah in secret, khashya, those are the ones who Allah will forgive and give them a great reward. So we can't enter Jannah without khashya. Mu'adh ibn Jabal is telling you, seek knowledge sincerely for Allah's sake because it leads you to khashya. You claim you want Jannah and you can't enter into Jannah without khashya. Mu'adh ibn Jabal is telling you how to get khashya. Therefore, he's telling you how to get to Jannah. That's just the first statement alone is enough. So seek knowledge sincerely for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal and it will lead you to khashya. Seeking knowledge is worship, studying is tasbih, and searching after it is jihad. All the best of actions are attained through just seeking knowledge. Knowledge is your close friend when you're in isolation and it's your companion when you're secluded. It is the guide for your deen, and it is your supporter in both ease and hardship. It is your minister in times of emergency, and it is your relative amongst the strangers. It is the guiding light, your guiding light to Jannah. Through knowledge, Allah elevates people into righteous leaders and masters, worthy of leading people with justice and calling people to the truth. Knowledge raises you amongst the angels. Knowledge raises you amongst the angels and those who are close to Allah Azza wa Jal, causing all the creations of Allah to mention your praises. The animals, the birds, and even the whales in the oceans make istighfar for you. With knowledge, Allah is obeyed. For how can you obey Allah if you don't know what He ordered and forbid? With knowledge, Allah is worshipped and Allah is glorified. And you reach the levels of wara', a high level of taqwa. With knowledge, family ties are kept and you know the halal and the haram. It is the imam of your actions. Listen to the last statement, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam. It is the imam of your actions, and Allah gives it to the one He wants to be successful and keeps it away from the one He wants to be wretched. Allah keeps it away from the one who wants to be disgraced and wretched. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, like Imam Ahmad said, from the cradle to the grave, every single day, every single week, we should be gaining knowledge. Don't you dare die in a state where you're not a talib alam, a seeker of knowledge who gets all these rewards. Don't you dare believe that you're going to seek knowledge for a small portion of your life and then you're going to stop. Small and consistent, that's the key. 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week. But make sure it's 1 hour a week till the day you actually enter the grave. That's all you need. But don't ever lose out on all these rewards and claim you want Jannah. Don't ever stand before Allah Azza wa Jal having claimed you wanted Jannah, but you took no steps to get there. And you didn't take the easy way to get there. Small and consistent, my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, especially in this lockdown. Wallah, we can spare an hour. 1 hour. It could be something as a small series on the Prophet ﷺ. A small lesson on fiqh or what's it called? Or mu'amalat. Anything, but small and consistent, and make sure it's for the rest of your life so that we're always classified as a talib alam, someone who's seeking knowledge, and we get all these rewards and we face Allah Azza wa Jal getting these highest levels. I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to make us of those who hear what is being said and apply the best of it. آمين. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى عليه وعلى آله ومن سار على دربه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين ووفى. عباد الله إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين. اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين. اللهم من أراد بالإسلام والمسلمين خيرا فوفقه إلى كل خير، ومن أراد غير ذلك فخذه أخذ عزيز مقتدر. يا جبار يا منتقم. اللهم اغفر وارحم المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع مجيب الدعوات. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If you enjoy our content,